Welcome into SportsZone All Access on this Tuesday, March 3rd. Ian Sachs, Kelsey Dennehy here with you at the KELOLAND Plus desk. And Kelsey, a lot going on because it's March. It's always such a busy time.
I love when it's March. It's so fun. And this is my first episode of All Access in March. So happy March, everyone. It's going to be a fun month.
Yeah, it certainly will be. Well, the Summit League tournament later this week. Summit League regular season wrapped up over the weekend. And that means that we have the individual awards announced earlier today by the conference. And let's take a look at the award winners. We start on the women's side. No surprise here per se. Player of the Year, Avery Coonan. Also Defensive Player of the Year, Avery Coonan. Newcomer of the Year, the one local on this list, that's Molly Joyce. Sixth Woman and Freshman of the Year, Carrington Asp from NDSU. And the Coach of the Year, the Bison as well, that's Jory Collins. Kelsey, what stands out to you from this list?
To be honest, I'm not really super surprised by any of it. I think that this was to be expected, and while we could debate it all we wanted, the Bison's record stood for itself in the way that they play basketball. Excluding that one loss to SDSU just last week, they have really played complete basketball the entire season, and that's a really challenging thing to do. So it doesn't surprise me that the committee was able to pull so many different stars for this list.
Yeah, NDSU, the regular season champs for the first time in program history. Coonan just edging out Brooklyn Meyer. It really felt like a two-horse race for Player of the Year, but it goes to Coonan with the regular season champs. And talking about Brooklyn Meyer, she was a first-team honoree. SDSU had two players on the first team in Meyer and Maddie Mathewitz, and then several other players listed as well. Emily Fox on the honorable mention. Meyer also on the all-defensive team and the all-freshman team in Hadley Toole.
Yeah, I mean, you can't not acknowledge the season and the career that Brooklyn Meyer has had with SDSU. She has been remarkable. She's leading the league with 22 points a game right now, and Maddie Mathewitz is not too far behind her. She's averaging around 13 points a game, so it definitely makes sense to see their names up on that first team. And then, obviously, if you're a Jackrabbit fan, you love to see the variety of names underneath in terms of what you have returning next year and the promise for future Jackrabbits teams.
Yeah, led by those two seniors and then a couple of youngsters as well. Well, down the interstate, USD had two players honored. It was Molly Joyce, in addition to being that one individual honor, second team and newcomer team as well, and then honorable mention, Elise Turbiatis.
Turbiatis has been stellar the back end of this season, especially. Molly Joyce has been so consistent for the Coyotes as they really tried to develop and brand their version of basketball this season. Carrie Amy's team only won 5 conference games in 2024, and so for them to pull off the season that they have and now wipe the slate clean and enter postseason is a big accomplishment in itself. So not surprised to see those names listed there.
The Coyotes, the 3 seed, they'll play on Friday. Moving over to the men's awards, Denver with the Player of the Year and the Newcomer of the Year in Carson Johnson. North Dakota's Eli King, the Defensive Player of the Year. Sixth Man of the Year, Noah Feddersen from North Dakota State. The Bison, also the Coach of the Year here, David Richmond, leading them to the regular season championship. And the Freshman of the Year, Nick Janowski from St. Thomas. Top 2 teams there with some individual award winners.
Certainly. It feels, the whole list of awards here feels pretty reflective of where the Summit League is at in terms of standings. And as we look to get into the Summit League tournament this weekend, these are 4 teams, or 3 teams. Yeah, 4 teams. My math isn't good. That's why I'm not in a math job. But they have been a big point of conversation for us in our Summit League coverage all year long based on the way that they've continued to play. And that includes Denver as well. They've been hard to play at their home, and it'll be interesting to see how they do here in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, all 4 of those teams finishing at least in a tie for 4th place or better in the standings. Yep. Denver, of course, in that 3-way tie with USD and Omaha. Talking about the local teams now, SDSU had 2 players receive honorees, and it was honorable mention for Joe Seiler and Damon Wilkinson. Seems like a little bit of a slight for Seiler, but it's just because there are so many good guards in the Summit League.
I mean, and if you think about it, the way that the standings panned out to enter postseason play, it's very similar to what we're just talking about with the all conference awards. I think both Seiler and Wilkinson have been great in big moments so far this year. And so definitely could not leave them out. But like you said, so many really talented athletes in the mix this year.
And the big man for USD getting a couple of nods, Cameron Fenn's first team and all defensive team, and Jordan Crawford on the second team. Those two have been the catalyst for what USD has done with facing so many injuries.
Absolutely. I mean, Cam Fenn's dunks, I think, are featured in our top plays every single week because you don't go to a USD game and not see a Cam Fenn's dunk. But he's also been really big for the Coyotes defensively. I mean, it helps that he is so tall that I've literally seen him so many times just swat away balls. And so that's been huge for the Coyotes. And Jordan Crawford as well, from beyond the arc, has been really impressive in getting points on the board for the Coyotes when they need it most.
I think if we can name a new Summit League award, Big Man of the Year, that would go to Cameron Fenn's, but
Yes.
we don't have that power.
I tried to look up that stat to see, but they don't keep that as an official stat, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately. Well, let's move over to Division II. Augustana played in the NSIC semifinals on Monday night, but the Vikings fell to Minnesota Duluth by 10, 72-62. And this was a game where the Bulldogs just got hot from deep in that later part of the first half. It was a 12-point game at the half. Vikings tried to make a push in the second half, just couldn't do it.
That's a tricky one. And obviously, if you're the Vikings, you don't like to see such a drastic upset after the season that they have had this year. But you also can't forget the season that the Vikings had, and it was a strong season, and definitely seen a team that maybe we haven't seen necessarily in a while. It seemed like they all really gelled well together on the floor, and a tough loss, but not much you can do when a team gets hot from beyond the arc. That's a hard one to contest.
Yeah, that it certainly is. Championship later on tonight out at the Pentagon. And then one of the coolest things that we've seen over the last couple of days.
Oh, I love this.
A Sioux Falls Christian manager right here nailing the buzzer-beating three.
Not this one. It's the very next one. He goes for the triple, and then he hits that one. And look at the opposing student section go wild, the bench go wild. Everybody in that gym was just so elated. This clip was actually picked up by ESPN as well. The Chargers posted it to their social media page, and ESPN got a hold of it and shared it on theirs as well. So great to see recognition for him. You just love moments like that. It's what makes sports the best.
Yeah, a very cool viral moment right there from the high school scene. Well, we have our game of the week. We'll preview that coming up next and talk with the Madison Bulldogs. To talk some Madison boys hoops and look into their season as we get ready for our game of the week tonight. The Bulldogs taking on Del Rapids. Coach Chad White joining us. And Coach, thanks so much for taking the time. What's been working so well for you guys this season?
I think we're finally kind of all our players kind of found their role. At the beginning of the year, we kind of found it, and then we kind of went on a little downhill there. We lost like 3 or 4 in a row. And we were kind of figuring out our roles as players. And these last, out of our last 8 games, I've been pretty pleased of, where our toughness has been, our leadership has been. And, we are a heavy senior led team, and we're making a pretty good run here at the end of the season.
What's been some of the biggest improvements that you've seen from the team from the start of the season to now this point as we're in the playoffs?
I would say the tougher things. Before when teams would make a run on us, it went really downhill. We didn't really respond with runs. Now later in the season, when teams are basketball, I tell the guys there's a game of runs. You're going to have ups, downs, you're going to have turnovers, but how are you going to mentally let that, affect the rest of the game? And that's where I think our biggest growth has been, is that we've been answering runs. It isn't 15 to 20 point runs. They're down to like 10. And that comes down to the tough plays when we need a bucket, who's going to step up. And some of our senior leaders like Shane has been just tremendous on the leadership role and wanting the ball a lot more lately, at the beginning of the season to now. But our strength is rebounding. When we out rebound teams, I think there's been one game all season where we out rebounded and we lost. That's the big stat for our team is if we're offensive and defensive rebounding.
You mentioned Shane in that last answer. The two Veenhoffs jumping off, Shane and Henry as your two leading scorers. What have they meant to the team's success this season?
Start with Shane. He just an athlete. He used to just be one speed and it was at you all the time, but he's kind of slowed down his games. He's making better reads off the pick and roll. He's shooting the ball really good. He started the season probably shooting like 15-20%. Now he's all the way back up to like 35. He's turned into one of our best shooters. And just what he does defensively and the toughness he has is unreal. He can keep anybody in front of him. He's just a tremendous athlete, and he's so fun to coach when you got a guy that just wants to win, and that is like the most important part. And he's setting up his brother great. He's a great leader for his brother. Henry's just very gifted offensively. Um, coming off, he's shooting 35% from the 3-point line. He's very smart. He understands the game. He's not as quick as his brother, but which is a good thing because he slows down and he can make a lot of good reads as well. We try to put those guys in ball screens as much as we can because they're really good at it.
We saw both of them starring on the football field, and we had a couple of their games for our game of the week. How do you see these players having success in other sports carry over to the basketball court?
I agree with you. I think that's a huge being multi-sport athlete. Every, sport has their, what they can make you better at and I'm a huge believer in, if you play all sports, it's going to help you in the long run. Football, just the toughness, the vision, all the other stuff, the hard work, you got preparation all the way to Friday, mentally, physically. It's football has truly helped those two out. Like I said, like you said, they're great athletes, and they have given Madison a lot for the academic side here for all programs.
You mentioned the prep time all the way to Friday for football. Well, the prep time just until Tuesday this week
Mhm.
against Del Rapids. What can you take away from the regular season meeting, losing by 20 back in January? What are the biggest takeaways that you have from that game as you get ready for this one?
Like that was on our downhill slide there, but we learned a lot about ourselves. We're a totally different team now, defensively, offensively. We kind of figured out some pieces that were scoring the ball a little bit more. But when I look at that stats, when I pulled up the Dells game, I started watching film, looking at this. I mean, they had 28-2 on our transition points, and they just kicked our tail in transition. There's nothing easy to say about it. They were physically, they out rebounded us. They beat us in transition. The points in the paint were crazy. They were definitely the tougher team, better coach team that game. And my guys are super excited about getting a rematch against those guys. And it should be a very, very up and down game. It's going to be a fun basketball game.
All right, so coach, take me inside the prep room for you. What's it going to come down to tomorrow? Or tonight, I
We
should
got
say.
a yeah. We got a lot of size that we started at the end of the game when I'm watching film. We got to take advantage of our size. We got 6'7", 6'6". Henry's great in the post at 6'3". We're going to try to get the ball a little bit inside, um, looking to slip out of ball screens. But most importantly, it's going to come down to our defense. It's the number one thing we've been preaching all year is we got to slow them down and we got to take care of the ball and take good shots.
All right, well, coach, I'll let you get to it. Looking forward to the game tonight and good luck.
Thanks, Ian.
We're now going to talk about Del Rapids, and we're joined by Coach Matthew Cadwell. And Coach, just take me through how this season has gone for you entering the playoffs with an 8-12 record.
It's it's been up and down, but I think a lot of coaches could say it's up and down. and our goal is to kind of stay on path as much as possible. We've had some ups, we've had some downs, good and bad. Like any season, our goal has always been to be playing our best basketball by the end of the year. And I think we've let some games go that we probably shouldn't have. And unfortunately, that's part of basketball, but we are looking forward to the challenge. It's always fun to go to someone else's gym and try to get a win, and that's kind of what we're looking for tomorrow at Madison. We played them earlier in the year, and I think the score was about we won by 20, and that's kind of what we reiterated to our guys is that it doesn't matter anymore. This is a brand new season here, and if you don't think Madison's going to give us their best shot, we know they will. So we're looking forward to the challenge.
How much can you take from that first game of the season when you matched up against them? Winning by 20, I'm sure they're going to be going back to the drawing board. How are you approaching that?
Yeah, that's a good question. They had a big win at Baltic on Friday, which we obviously watched. What can we take from? I think it was January 22nd is when we played them. We don't take a ton, just because just like we've changed a lot since January 22nd. I'm sure Madison has changed a lot since then as well. It's just hopefully there's a small sense of desperation, because it could be our last game of the year. We have a couple seniors. It could be their last game. Hopefully not. Our motto here the last week or so has been let's play, until we can anymore. It's kind of up to us, how long we play for, and that's kind of what we're looking forward to. I do think we're pretty evenly matched with Madison. It was great to win the first matchup. Do I think it's going to be similar as January 22nd by 20 points? No, not at all. So, regardless of what happens, hopefully we go in there, get a win. And we always talk about you only have to be 1 point better than them tomorrow.
Yep, that is certainly the motto, survive and advance, right?
Right.
Well, coach, you mentioned that tough stretch down the towards the end of the regular season for you, losing 4 of your last 5. What are the biggest lessons that you take from that stretch?
Well, just being in the Pac-12 conference, in my opinion, I do think it's the best basketball conference in the state. There are no easy games, and I've learned that here in my first year. Every night, it doesn't matter what the record is. Doesn't matter if you have a winning record, losing record. They're coming for you. It's going to be a fight every night, and that's what we prepare for. There's such good teams, there's such good players, there's such good coaches in this conference. To the ones we've lost, the Sioux Falls, Christian, the Lennox, Dakota Valley, Vermilion. I mean, that kind of gives us, a baseline of or an example of where we want to get to. I mean, we want to get to that level. I think some nights we're creeping towards that, and other nights we're not. But that, like I said, that's part of the ups and downs of the season. But for the most part, it gives us an example of where we need to get to, and really good examples of really solid basketball programs.
Battle tested for sure through that season slate. Uh, your seniors, you touched on them earlier. How important have they been to the program and providing leadership this season?
Well, I can't say enough. Like I said, they've made my job a lot easier. Again, being my first year, um, they've obviously been here longer than I have. They know how things go. They know what works. They know what doesn't work. They know their teammates. Where I'm still, over the season, getting to learn more and more about each kid and how they respond and how to coach them. And everybody's different, and everyone learns differently, and that's great. And they've been a good sounding board. I go to them, you think this will work? What do you think about this? And the biggest thing with us is that there's open lines of communication. There's trust. I believe in what they say. I think they believe in what I say, and just building those relationships with those guys is so important. And I think record wise, unfortunately, we're not where we want to be. But it's measured more in just wins and losses. I know that's a huge part of it, and trust me, I understand that. But the progress we've made so far, a lot of it can be chalked up to their leadership and me being able to communicate with them.
Coach, how have you seen the team grow over the course of this season?
Ton, really. I think I'm the fourth coach in about 5 years, or it's the fifth coach in 6 years. It's something like that. And that's just the way life works sometimes. It's nobody's fault by any means. It's just kind of the way things worked out here. When I took this job, I plan on being here, knock on wood, for quite a while. And I think stability is something that is needed here. And just being able to kind of lay the groundwork right now. With everybody, juniors and seniors, I'm their third coach in 3 or 4 years. So it's just the way it is. And we kind of work through it. And like I said, I think stability and structure and discipline, that's always been here. It's just been coming from different voices. But it's always been here. And I think just being able to build something here, for more than 1 or 2 years is going to be important. So I hate saying that right now when we have, our biggest game of the season tomorrow. But it's a lot of that, laying the foundation for the next couple of years, hopefully. But believe me when I say, we're going to do our absolute best here, to try to keep playing, like I said, as long as we can tomorrow.
Certainly. Well, Coach, take me inside the coach's office. What's the scouting report? What's it going to come down to?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to come up or we've already come up with some sort of scouting report, and hopefully, knock on wood, it works out. It's probably going to blow up in my face tomorrow, I'm sure. Just the way things go sometimes. No, like I said, we have a lot of respect for Madison. I've known Coach White over there for quite a while, and we are not taking them lightly by any means. Just going on the road is difficult enough. They have the two Veenhoff boys who I've known for a while, and I'll tell you, when those guys get hot, it's tough to slow them down. Just really good basketball players, really good athletes, really good people. It's going to be a challenge for us. They have a little more size than us. The Nielsen kid is about 6, I don't know, 7, 6, 8, and we don't have much more than about 6'3" on our squad. So it's going to have to, as cliche as it is, I mean, we're going to have to play defense. We're going to rebound, and hopefully, like I said, we just outscore them by at least 1 point tomorrow.
Certainly. Well, Coach, looking forward to it. Good luck tonight, and we'll see you there.
Perfect. Thank you for your coverage. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Coach. We'll be right back. Welcome back to SportsZone All Access. Well, quickly before we let you go, we previewed the game of the week, Madison and Del Rapids, and a couple of other high school games between Lenox and Canton, Howard and Sioux Falls Lutheran. Girls playoffs out in Iowa, and GPAC championships. A really busy Tuesday night here across KELOLAND. We'll catch you guys next time here on SportsZone All Access.
Bye, guys.